So I'm not even a minute into watching Exposing Witchcraft by Carol Kornacki, and already I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Is this just because she's like a televangelist? Is that what they do? Is that who she is? Is she a televangelist? She's just screaming. And so far, literally the only note I've written down so far is 6 years. She's talking about 6 years worth of experience. Okay, the amount of time doesn't always mean something, but in this case, it sounds like startlingly little. And she names a whole bunch of different things as part of that experience that aren't even necessarily the same thing. Like it's exposing witchcraft, but she's talking about 6 years of experience in witchcraft and spiritualism and mediumship and Buddhism and necromancy and da-da-da. So it's like, did you spend 6 years doing all of that stuff in depth, or did you like spend a few months on one thing and move to the next and you've done all of this occult stuff within 6 years, but not a lot of it, actually a lot. So I already kind of knew how I was going to feel about this thing, so I guess I may as well just say my initial thoughts before I even finish watching it. But basically what this kind of stuff is someone who may or may not have actually been involved in witchcraft, who is using this as an opportunity to strike fear into the hearts of people and talk about their own religion in a way that makes it sound superior. And they think that claiming that they have experience and were an insider makes them sound more credible because now they know the horrors and crazy stuff. But usually nothing that they say actually is true of an actual experience within this path. So it makes you think either are they completely lying, they're totally making it up just to sound like they have credibility, but they were never actually a part of this community and never actually learned or did anything, or were they just part of a really shitty group? Because I have heard some personal stories from people, read blogs online, stuff like that from people who are also people who used to be within the community who got out because of the group that they were in actually being harmful and abusive and wanting them to do things that typically the community is not okay with, like things that we would warn you about. These are red flags of anybody, any kind of person being abusive, regardless of their religion. That's a red flag, get out, you know? And in these stories, it just happened to be the circle of witches that this person stumbled upon were these abusive people. So you never really know what it could be, but either way, it's not a true positive experience. It's not even a true experience. Most experiences, I feel like, are positive if it's really what you are going for. But anyway, yeah, I'm like 45 seconds into the first video, and I can't listen to her voice. She's just screaming, and it just sounds like someone yelling at me and arguing with me. It sounds like the people that I don't like to talk to because all they're doing is yelling at you and not actually listening to you or having an intelligent discussion is what it sounds like. And I understand she's up on a stage and she's mic'd, so it's gonna be really loud, but just her tone of voice is not conversational. She's not sharing an experience. She's making people afraid. That's everything that her voice says right now. So let's check back in a bit after I've watched some more and see what else I have to say.
So we have to face the fact, without any ado, that Canada and the United States, since that's where I'm from and you're from, are having a problem with witchcraft.
Violence. Oh, witchcraft. Not violence.
People
It's
think
witchcraft.
cool.
I am a third of the way through these videos now. It's a 15-part series. Some of it overlaps a little. I have watched the first 5, and Rich talked about a lot of specific things in his video that I won't repeat, but I will say it's not anything that I didn't expect. It's a lot of misinformation and drawing conclusions from things that are meant to be scary and make things look bad and make everything look evil. The one thing I will credit, the one thing she said that is actually accurate is that the conical hat that is associated with witches represents having a cone of power. That's literally the only thing she has said that was true. Except at one point she did mention that Diana is the goddess of the moon, and that is accurate, but only after repeatedly referring to her in an earlier part as the god of the sun. Diana, the goddess of the sun. And then later she flip-flopped on that. But I'm pretty sure she's also saying Aleister Crowley. She's not even pronouncing his name correctly. Just a lot of hilarious quotes, a lot of really ridiculously bad information. Like, if you were to research it, the only place that you would find these facts that she's giving are on heavily biased Christian pages where people are claiming to be exposing the truth. Nowhere else on a secular, because I'm not even saying, obviously, if you go to a pagan source, you're going to get more of the pagan history of it. But even if you were to go to a secular historical source from people who are just historians or, who have studied these things from a more middle ground, you won't even find that information there. Like, these are such stretches of the imagination that it's funny. There are some funny quotes in here. Like, I don't even know. One of my favorite things is that she's talking about the evilness of the peace sign and then draws one. First of all, she's talking about the power of words in part of it, but she doesn't think there's anything wrong with drawing these evil symbols amongst all these people that she's trying to say are saved or that she's trying to save. She doesn't find anything wrong with drawing the symbol in front of them, even though that is an act of creation right there. But anyway, I digress. She's talking about the peace sign and then draws it, and what she draws is not even the peace sign. Like, come on. It's not, like, why? No. There are some ridiculous things that she says are pagan rituals that I have never heard about ever in any research that I've done, even on paths that are not mine, because obviously the way that I do things is not the way that everyone does them, but I've never heard of some of these ridiculous things that she's saying. So either, like I said, she was involved with some really weird stuff and people. Like, she said that her friend Linda and she used to believe that black cats in general, that they could transfer their spirit with the cat. So, like, that's an example of something that she said that they did or that they believed they could do. She refers to just a lot of stuff that's not the accurate definition, and it's weird, like everything, like with vampires and with killing and stuff like that. She talks about the violence, she talks about the blood and how nasty and how evil with the blood, but then she consistently refers to people who are saved as being people of the blood, and she means blood of Christ. But it's this weird kind of thing where, like, on the one hand, she talks about them being of the blood and having the blood within them, and that's not weird to her, but it's only weird if she's talking about vampire bats. Then it's like, ew, evil, gross, disgusting. Like, it's just this weird, you know what I'm saying? It's this weird disconnect. She also talks about the historic animal sacrifice of pagan religions that would have been, like, back at the time, they might have done animal sacrifices, talking about how that's clearly a sign that they're evil and of the devil and in cahoots with Satan or whatever. Never mentions that Christians also did animal sacrifice. So there's that. Now she goes on to claim that there was also human sacrifice and burning babies in wicker baskets and yada, yada, yada. But I will let Danny talk about that, because that is all of the specific... There's a whole section where she's claiming to know all this stuff about druidry and the history of the druids. That's all just like, no. Like, do some research. It's not hard. It is not hard to actually be on this path and be part of this community and find the actual information about this stuff. This is all just falsehood. So I feel really, really bad for the person who asked us this. Clearly is worried, and that is exactly what they want you to think. And I know that sounds crazy because, of course, they, quote unquote they, polarizing here, would just say the same about us, that of course that we want to tell you that it's okay and blah blah blah, blah. But it's really sad to me, and it's really sick that they're saying such misleading, such just clearly misinformed things. Like, there's no basis for most of the stuff they're saying, and yet these hundreds of people in this room are lapping it up and applauding, and there's people in the background going, that's right, about everything. And it's just like, no, it's literally not. It's the opposite of right. It's not true. It's just not. And that's very sad to me, because that's what we deal with on a daily basis, is people who truly believe these evil, nasty, disgusting things that are so much not a part of the reality of actually being a person following this spiritual and religious path. And it's gross. It's just gross, because those people then raise people who are taught to think that that's who we are and that's what we are and that's how we deserve to be treated, that we're trash. And yeah, it's pretty upsetting and pretty ridiculous. It's a bunch of, Carol, do you know what bogus means? The other main thing that I never understand is how people, and Carol talks about this in this, even within the first 5 parts, she has brought this up multiple times. I will never understand how people can believe that God is the end all be all, like God always wins no matter what. What was the quote that she says? God wins, like it or not. God always wins, like it or not. And she talks about, nothing came into being that wasn't through him and by him, and basically just that everything is God and God is the best and will always win, and nothing that anyone can ever do can change that. I will not understand how you can hold that view and then also be so afraid of other things. If you follow a deity that you believe cannot fail, cannot be beat, why are you so afraid of a pewter cup with your name on it? Why are you so afraid of someone who looks to the stars for guidance? Why are you so afraid of listening to the music of someone who isn't a follower of Christ? Why are you so afraid? If your God cannot lose, if your God is the ultimate winner and nothing came into this world that is not through him and by him, then what in this world could make you afraid? I understand that after that point, perhaps you have to think, well, evil came into the world separately, and evil came into the world later, or things of, okay, well then we're talking about things like evolution, or we're talking about either there are things of this world that are not of your God, or everything that is in this world came through him and by him and is part of him and is here with his knowledge. Rich talked about the book of Job, which I love the book of Job. Some really good quotes in there. Try to guess what my favorite verse is. And in that story, the devil goes to God and says, I bet you that I can make Job, who's one of God's favorites, I bet I can make him, go against you and, disavow you. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it right now. And God says, sure, go ahead, you can try. God allows him to test Job. It's all allowed through God. I just think that's a weird bit of the story. I don't really want to talk about the Bible right now, but that's the main thing. Whenever Carol says something else about God's the best and nothing can beat God, but then immediately after says watch what you decorate your home with, or watch what you listen to, watch whatever, I'm just that seems like a contradiction to me. If your God, if you have this relationship with your God, then what do you have to fear? Why is it, what's your deal? But anyway, I have 10 more parts of this to watch. It's just, no. Hey, it's now Tuesday. I watched a couple more parts of the video lecture series this morning and wanted to work on this video when I got home. When I got home, I'm going to tell you some personal information right now. My cramps set in really bad, which happens to me for a few hours on the first day of my period, and then I'll be totally fine. But that happened a little bit ago, and this is the first time that they've been okay enough for me to get up and speak to a camera. So I was planning on coming home, finishing watching the rest of the videos, finishing this video, uploading it, but I don't know how long I'm going to be without cramps. So in case I can't do any more, I just wanted to wrap this up right now and say that based on everything I've watched so far, which is the majority of it, but not all 15 parts yet, I will finish watching it and finish taking my notes. I might do a more in-depth blog about some specific points that I want to address, but so I watched a couple more parts today, like the one about TV and movies and stuff like that. Basically, I don't know why this lecture is called Exposing Witchcraft. It's not even mostly about witchcraft. It's about what Carol Kornacki would consider exposing Satan. She's just talking about a list of different unrelated things that she feels that Satan is working through, such as TV shows, teaching children how to do whatever. She mentioned several TV shows that supposedly have characters drawing pentagrams or hexagrams, which she uses the term interchangeably. Apparently, I don't know. I've never heard of a hexagram having a circle around it, but whatever. Nor that being how you hex someone. Hex signs and hex symbols are not necessarily the same as a hexagram or a hexagon, meaning 6-sided things. It all comes from, there's a reason the roots come from one another, but that's not exactly the same thing. There's just a lot of things. Sorry, my cramps are starting up again. There's just a lot of stuff that Carol says in this series that is false. Like I said, in the first however many parts I watched, she only said one actually factually true thing. Now, through the parts that I have watched, she has said 2 true things. Let me see what the other thing was. That she said you can't hear the voice of God through the sounds of your TV playing all the time. I think that's true. That's about the only other thing that I actually agree with what she said. And the thing that Rich talked about The Nightmare Before Christmas, and how she admits that she didn't see the whole movie. She's like looking at a booklet and talking about some quotes about it and talking about what the characters look like, completely not even thinking about or considering the fact that it's a Tim Burton film. It's a story about creatures of Halloween, so of course they're going to be dark and scary. They're Halloween creatures, and it's about them bringing Christmas into their lives and wanting to have that as a part of their lives. And yeah, anyway, I'm like really passionate about Nightmare Before Christmas, right? Because I love it. Yeah, she talks about just a whole lot of stuff, and there's a lot more of the, as long as you are a follower of Christ, you're fine, and you have nothing to fear, and you have nothing to worry about at all, and God protects the children, and da-da-da-da. And it's just that disconnect for me of, like, if you believe that, then why are you so afraid of other things? Like, if you're not personally, whatever. It's just, this stuff is not, it's just so easy to see that it's not real. And for people for whom it's not easy, like those of you who are maybe just starting this journey and are starting to look into it, and you find something like this and it makes you afraid, like, I don't really, honestly, being honest, I don't really know how to relate to that, because I grew up always knowing that that stuff made no sense to me, and that that stuff just wasn't true, and that it was all guilt trips and fear tactics. And that just never resonated with me. So I don't know how it feels to truly be someone who believes that that could be a real issue. So watch Rich's video yesterday. It was fantastic. He is a follower of Christ as well as a pagan, so he could speak to that. Everyone on the channel has a slightly different perspective, so that's what we love, right? That's what's great. But yeah, this kind of stuff, I don't watch this kind of stuff. I don't put any stock into it. It's just clearly, if you were hearing from someone who had really been on this path, this would not be the kind of stuff they were talking about. They would not sound like a woman like Carol Kornacki. I'm getting a message. And yeah, so maybe I'll do a blog about more of it. Maybe if I just feel like addressing the ridiculousness, because I've got pages of notes. Page. So there's that. That was really blurry, I'm sorry. But yeah, so my thoughts in short, it's ridiculous, it's all completely false, and it's easy to see that it's false if you do any actual research. The stuff that she says is just plain old not true, using a lot of persuasive tactics, a lot of things that are just to make you question, to make you afraid more than anything. It's just fear, and that unfortunately is what's causing a lot of trouble going on in the world right now. And I know I am deeply affected by it. I am sure that a lot of you are as well. And I say kick that fear shit out of here. Enough. Carol Kornacki, I don't need you. We don't need you. You do absolutely nothing for us or against us. You're irrelevant. I'm sorry that people listen to you instead of learning for themselves, but I understand that that's what some people teach, and that's what some people believe, and it's upsetting, but hey, it's their journey. I would love to hear, as Rich said, I would love to actually hear an honest account of maybe her actual spiritual journey, other than I wanted power, therefore I became a witch, and apparently did a bunch of this crazy stuff that is not even what most of us do. But anyway, have a good one. I'm going to finish my day, try to make it to rehearsal tonight, and I will talk to you next week. So thanks for watching. Until next time, don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.